Hey guys, welcome back to the Thriving in Love podcast, the podcast that challenges the status quo so couples can thrive as their most authentic selves. Today on the show, we have Dr. Christina, a femininity coach that creates a luxurious self-care experience for elite women. Christina, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to dive into your world. I love your brand. I love everything that you've built. So I'm excited to get to tap into your brain and your heart today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to share everything that you want to know and everything we're going to talk about. It's going to be juicy, I guess.
Yes, definitely. So, how did you get started in this work and what inspired you to create this experience for women?
Yeah, to be honest, it's a long story. So I actually was in the corporate world for like about more than 10 years, and I had my career, that's the way I grew up, like having a good education. I even completed my PhD. During that time, I had this amazing career. And one day I was like, okay, is this me? Who is this woman, right? I looked into the mirror. I remember I had a board meeting. I had to present something, and I was like, hang on, what am I doing here? Is this my dream? Is this a dream from someone else, right? Is this something society created? Is this even a woman? So I looked very different. I had like short hair, like the clothing. It was like very masculine. I literally looked like the copy of my male boss, right? That's how, I mean, you adapt when you're for a long time, when you're in the corporate world, you adapt, right? The clothing, the words you use. So I literally, even my private life was dedicated to work. And I was always very creative. I was a dancer when I was young, right? Loved painting. I loved expressing myself, but I stopped doing it at some point. It felt for me probably a waste of time, right? So if it's not serving my career, I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So I stopped doing that. I stopped nurturing connections with friends and family. I actually had a boyfriend at that time, but also like on the weekends, I joined my Chinese Mandarin language classes, right? Because it served me for my work and career, and I didn't do something for myself. So self-care, right? I didn't do it. And all those things that help you. So yeah, at that one point at work, when I looked into that mirror in that bathroom, right? And I was like, okay, this is, what am I seeing? Is not good. And then I actually had a burnout. So it was too much of everything. And then I was like, okay, Christina, what is it, right? Is it the work? Is it your home? Is it your relationship? I didn't know. I was like, so just a threat you experience, right? When you have a burnout, and like I had panic attacks the whole day. And I was like, oh my God, okay, Christina, we don't know. We have like two options. So we stay there and take it no matter what, right? Or we escape. And because I didn't know what to do, I put all my eggs into one basket and decided to escape. So I quit the career. I left my boyfriend. I sold all of my belongings, literally my past, right? And I bought a one-way ticket to Bali. I've never been there before, right? But I was like, oh my God, I saw this on Instagram and it looked pretty. And I felt like this is my calling. This is my chance, I need to do it. So I booked this ticket. And on June 2nd, 2 years ago, actually, I boarded that flight, right? And I was like, okay, I'm just, ready. And guess what? It was like the best decision ever. And I got more in touch with myself. I healed my burnout. I learned what it means to be a woman, right? So I worked with coaches and I went to therapy, like all the good and juicy stuff you need. And I was like, wow, yeah. And then one day we talked about masculinity and femininity and how this shows up within you, like yin and yang and the kind of things and how it works together. And yeah, wow. And then it clicked for me. Like, Christina, you just, you're feminine. You neglected her for so long. You didn't listen. Your body showed it, but you didn't listen. Yeah. Then I realized, okay, I need to help more women with that. It's something you don't learn in school, right? It's something you don't even talk about. Or it's the woo-woo stuff, but it's actually not. It's energy. It's everywhere, So that's
it's
how
science.
I started.
I agree 100%. Wow. That's incredible. So out of all the modalities that you did between therapy and coaching, and I'm sure others, what was the most transformative?
For me, it actually was life coaching.
Yeah.
Because we dove so much deeper into my past, which I haven't dealt with. Like, because there's a reason why I was always hardworking, right? There was a reason what I believed about being a woman, what I believed about education, what I believed about like working every single day, right? And punishing myself even on the weekends not to relax. and all
Yeah.
those moments. So yeah, that was definitely the thing that changed my life.
Where do you think that comes from? Because I know I experienced
Mhm.
that because I also was in corporate, climbing the corporate ladder and
Mm.
thinking that rest is something that you earn and thinking that my self-worth is attached to how much money I make versus just like who I am as a human. So where do you think this comes from for
Mm.
women?
So like, first of all, when we grew up, right? Like I have a brother and we were treated the same. So you
Yeah.
have to have this good education. I mean, it's Western society is like performance driven. We want to
Yeah.
reach the best. Of course we want to. It's nothing wrong with that, but in a healthy way. And this was not
Mm.
healthy. So for me, it's like being a workaholic or like a boss babe. That was a badge of honor, right? And a boss babe, she does not relax. She makes all of her time available to be successful, right? And to build her career no matter what. So I did. And I think it stems from beliefs we have about being, first of all, a girl in at the young age, right? And also like when we grow up, like feminine is like, oh, she's crying a lot and she's too emotional. And later on, or maybe she's too sexy.
Yeah.
You know, she's dressed up and she's not capable of having success because she brings in emotions, which is not true. You know, it's a perfect combination if you make use of that. But I think that's actually the reason why we don't allow our feminine to show up.
So let's dive a little deeper into that because that's like the
Mhm.
work that you do is how can we bring our feminine energy into the workplace? How can we keep being these ambitious, powerful,
Yeah.
like you say, elite women while embracing our feminine energy? So how can we bring that energy in? Because I know when I first had my feminine awakening, I literally just wanted to sit in the park all day with a
Yeah.
book and like detach from everything. And it was glorious. But now I'm stepping into this new like feminine leadership, which I believe is like your entire brand. So can you
Yeah.
let us know how to integrate both?
Yeah, that's perfect. So first of all, we can be both, right? We can be very ambitious and we can sit in the park and just do whatever we want. And that's the beauty. We can allow ourselves to be both. And I think the beauty comes from having both connected and knowing when you can be more masculine, more feminine. So for me, the masculine is everything that gives me the structure. So it's like your architecture, right? How you plan your days, what's your purpose in life, what you go for, what you do, and then take the actions. And when you have that in place, you have enough space. You even schedule your time for being a feminine woman, right? Whether it's like sitting in the park or like having a manicure, you know, you schedule it out.
Yeah.
So you use like both. And for me, it's like the constant hustle. We call this hypermasculinity. So those women, they work so hard and they don't allow themselves to rest. And the feminine is actually, I mean, the masculine is the doing, right? And the feminine is the being. So the resting, right? And the recharging in moments when you need it the most. And when we come from that place, right, it pretty makes much sense to see like, wow, being feminine, relaxing, recharging from a hard work day, right? Or even have this moment of like being with yourself, fully letting go of thoughts. So for me, also the masculine is in your head, like thoughts, thinking, overwhelm, and the feminine is the being. I mean, it's a good example when you, for example, have whatever back pain, right? And you work so hard that your mind is so focused on your task. Of course, your body is stopping you from feeling the pain because it needs you to focus. And this is what happened. Like for me, I had the same when I worked so hard. I didn't realize that there was pain. I didn't realize how my legs are even feeling, right? Are they still there? I don't know, you
So
know?
true.
Or or even when you feel like, oh my god, the food only tastes good on a vacation. True. But you probably won't even be consciously eating your food during the day. So you know what I mean?
True.
What I'm, referring to is like feeling yourself more also during the work. So let's have a calmer moment when you hustle hard. Whatever, you can go outside, have a walk, have a coffee, but then tune into your body and like, yeah, there's something, my body's there, my senses are there.
Yeah.
And make use of that.
Oh my gosh, I love that you said that because there's so many moments where even now as an entrepreneur, I'm sure like we experience it, right? Where it's like, oh, we have a day full of meetings or a day full of things to do. And I'll catch myself, even though I literally teach this stuff, I practice it all the time. I still have moments where I'm like stuffing food or forgetting to eat altogether and just like going through the whole day. And then my husband comes home and I'm cranky and I'm moody and I'm like irritable. And he's like, did you eat today? And I'm like, oh no, I forgot to eat. Sorry. What do you recommend for women who because I think that's the toughest part about the balance is how can we create a practice that is achievable and that is, not too overwhelming? How can we create these moments? Do you suggest just putting it in the calendar, eat or?
So, I mean, first of all, when you start doing it, you probably have neglected it for a very long time, right? So that kind of let's call it self-care or moments of being or relaxing something. I recommend to use moments you already have. So the lunchtime, for example, when you have a lunchtime and you definitely gonna do a break, right? Rather in the first place, you do that break rather than having another appointment somewhere else to get your hair done, right? So start with things you have in your calendar already, like a lunch, and you don't skip that. So that's important.
Yeah.
The feminine needs you to be committed, right? That's
of
course kind of the masculinity part. So as I said, the masculine helps you to schedule and you respect yourself so much that you're going to commit to that. Like you have a business appointment, right? You respect yourself as a business owner or a founder, entrepreneur, then you stick to these appointments, right? But you don't skip your private time. So lunch,
I love how you said that it's like a commitment to the feminine, where it's isn't that what the feminine, what we desire all along is to be chosen, to be cared for. And we're asking that from everybody else around us, but then we're not giving it to ourselves.
True.
And I'm pretty sure when we give it to ourselves, then we don't need it as desperately as this necessity from others. So how can we create that commitment to ourselves in a way that is just practical and achievable?
So I 100% agree to what you're saying. So you have to have this commitment. And it means that you not make other things more of a priority, right? You are the priority. So, that's what the commitment is about. So, I mean, we're both, as I said, of course, you're defining yourself as a business owner, but you also are a woman, right? And you are both. And both of them have make equal sense, are equally important, and you commit to both. And for me, it's tuning into myself and really telling myself, Christina, you're not going to skip this. Right in the beginning, I agree. In the beginning, it's tough because you have to make that work. But I feel so bad when I'm skipping it. That's me, my feminine, telling me, Christina, what have you done? You don't respect your own self, right? You haven't chosen yourself. And Sana, that's why I'm telling you, that's commitment. If you want to expect a man or a partner or a colleague, an employee, whatever, to respect you and to choose you, to work for you, to work with you, you have to choose yourself first. And that's how 100%. You can show that, right?
Wow. Thank you so much. I love that. That's the most important thing. And it is, I think the universe then also chooses you when you choose yourself, and you get blessed with your manifestations start coming in when you start to believe that you're worthy, and you call in that, when you choose yourself, you're showing the universe, I'm ready to go all in on me. And then the universe meets you halfway.
Yeah.
So I love that.
And also, you're more relaxed because you spend time with yourself. You enjoyed those moments. Of course, then the manifestation is going to work, right? There's no pressure on it. Just,
the way it all works.
Just pass. That's good.
Amazing. So how do you think we can be in our feminine in relationships? Since this entire podcast is all about relationships and being our authentic self, what does that mean to you, and how can we show up as our authentic selves, honoring our feminine energy, balancing our masculine energy in the container of a relationship?
I love this question. And I love talking about relationships and dating because they're usually the women I coach. They sometimes are very successful, but then they struggle in their relationships. I'm going to think okay, if you're very masculine at work, are you maybe very masculine in your relationship as well, or while dating? So there might be a correlation.
There you go.
Yeah. It's holistic beings. We have to look at everything. And I love this. Yes. So for me, it's first of all to know what you want. When we talk about authentic or authenticity, get to know and learn who you are and what you want, right? First of all. Yeah. From a man, what gives you pleasure, what the good things you have in a relationship or dating. And then it's also for me, those ambitious women, they want to have an ambitious man. Of course, we want to have them. And we want a man who claims as a man who's like powerful. But guess what? When you show up as your very Miss Independent woman with a man who's also equally powerful, guess what? We don't want to have a two lions meeting, right?
Yep.
Two lions fighting for a kingdom. We want to be a lioness and, still powerful, but we have to back down. And that's what I'm seeing with so many women. They're not allowing themselves to back down, just take a step away and to let him lead.
So how can women trust that the man has our best interests at heart in order to allow them to lead? Because I think that as women in the patriarchal society, we've just been so shut down in the workplace, shut down in our relationships, and just like have experienced really a lot of toxic masculinity. So when we do find a healthy man who wants to lead, who has our best interest at heart, are there conversations that we can have with our partner to open our heart and allow them in and to let them lead? So like, how do we work on trust?
So for me, first of all, it's a thing, how much do you trust yourself?
Oof.
So, right, it comes back to the moments we just talked about, like how much commitment do you have to your own self? Because I truly believe, for me, and all of my clients, it doesn't matter anymore who is treating you what. If they treat you good or bad, what they're saying, the moment you are so good, right, you have your masculinity that helps you to commit, to respect yourself, and you have your feminine, beautiful, compassionate, and nurturing and caring side. You can even nurture and care for your biggest enemy. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. If you get rejected, if you get treated bad, it does not matter. If this makes sense. So start with yourself. And if you have this grounded, super feminine, magnetic version, first of all, they cannot resist you anymore. I guess they will not treat you bad. But in case they do, it does not matter for you. It's still you. You are a gorgeous feminine woman. And it does not matter.
When you have clients, do you recommend that they tap into their feminine energy, get really familiarize themselves with that part of themselves before getting into a relationship? Or have you been able to help people who are already in relationships? Are they able to cultivate that after getting into one?
I have both, actually. I have both. So let's say when you start dating again, for example, of course, it would be great if you work on yourself first, right? That's what I always recommend. To learn about yourself and to have this, sense of how it feels to be feminine, and also be able, maybe you practice first, you can be feminine around everyone, right? You can be feminine around your friends, test it with some male friends, you know what I mean? Or test it with some strangers. I sometimes do that too with my Uber drivers, I'm just practicing too sometimes. Can I flip it? No. And to see how they react. So that's what I, of course, recommend before you start dating. And then when it comes to dating or even being in a relationship, it requires like both parties to know what polarity is, right? So sometimes when I talk to my clients and they talk about their dating situations, not every man has the awareness. I'm honest, And of course, you can be your super feminine, most feminine self and give him that space to lead, but he has to step into, right? And if he's not stepping forward and not taking the lead, it gets tricky.
Yeah.
So I think that's true for relationships too. Work on yourself and then see if he can fulfill this role too. I don't want to say so to teach him how to do it. I think this is not your role, right? You're still a lover and a girlfriend, wife, but still try a few different things, how you communicate, or let him know even about your needs. A man loves that when you tell him, hey, can you do this? Or let's talk about that, from a place of being like making the connection better.
But then is that going to lead the woman to lead when we are doing that? Like, how can we balance it in a way? Like, I think what I'm practicing with my husband is more like, how can I inspire him without my words, but with the way I'm treating myself? Like, I think when he sees me treating myself differently, then he energetically feels that shift within his own self. So like, my whole thing is just, how can I be more the muse and not the mother?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be the mother. You don't want to be his teacher, his coach,
Oh my
Although
gosh.
you know about all those things, right? You feel like, no, you don't do it.
I think it's our
Yeah,
own
maybe.
mother wound that steps into that
Yeah, I
role of
know.
being a mother.
And
Yeah.
I mean, as a coach, right? You always want to help people. That
So
comes
true.
with it. Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean, it's nothing bad. So, yeah. I would say like inspiration is great. And I feel
Yeah.
like when you change something within you, right? It's also the way you show up, right? When you
Yeah.
changed or when you're more self committed or when you just do something differently, he will notice that. Like, hey, what? Are you
Hmm.
wearing something different? Or no, it's just your energy, right? So more
So
of an
true.
inspiration, but I still believe I'm a huge believer, and communication for me is like the key to a successful relationship, and to talk about a few things. Just share whatever a fancy reel when they talk about polarity, or something. Subtle ways of inspiration, but still dropping a message. I think if we
Yeah.
are ambitious women, I mean, that's the thing with like being masculine or feminine as a woman. If you have a strong
Yeah.
personality, anyways, of course, you can take a little bit of a lead in that sense, right? Communicate and drop something, It's okay, I think. That's part of the muse as
I totally agree. Because it's not like also then coming from you and saying,
well.
I
Yeah.
think this and this and that. It's more of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a conversation. It's like, oh, I think this is interesting. What are your thoughts? And you get to
Hmm.
learn something new together. And that's such a beautiful way to bring in that conversation
Yeah, I love
without.
it.
Amazing. So, where are you now in your journey? And like, are you dating anybody? Are you in a relationship? Like, where are you at personally?
So, I mean, I worked on myself during this journey. I think the journey never ends. So there's always
Yeah.
something I can learn. Actually, I'm dating as I have not found my partner yet, because after the last long-term relationship, he was very feminine. That was exactly the guy I broke up with after I put all my eggs into one basket and I had this flight to Bali.
Yeah.
And I'm, still processing a lot of things. And, we have been together for 7 years, right? It was an all in situation. We're going to get married now, or I'm leaving, kind of
Yeah.
situation. And it was like he was very passive and very feminine. And this is not what I want. And I also have to say that I always had issues with men coming from a very masculine personality kind of thing. So for me, men were always weak, like in my
Yeah.
family or my colleagues. Like honestly, I didn't respect men. And I had no male friends until I turned 36. So like men were like, no, Christina, I just don't want to be in your energy. There's something wrong. And
Wow. Yeah.
and was something I worked over the last years too, to fell in love with a man in general, like a man, and and the things I did helped me to appreciate them. And out of the sudden, they started to contact me. They started to contact me for my business things or hanging out with me without having like any romantic interests, and I was like, wow, like 50% more of the population, thank you. you know and that's the thing, like
Yeah.
I would not say, I mean, standards of course I have, and because I work with those topics and things, I have a lot of requirements for a man, and I also take care of myself to have those boundaries in place and the standards, and to keep them high, because now I'm ready for a man, but the right one, right? And
Yeah.
having those good values and behaving like that while dating, same as I expect him to do. So
What are some non-negotiables for you? Like what are you trying to call in now in this like
mhm.
new place of who you are?
Yeah. So for me, it's, for example, I mean, of course, he has to be masculine, right? I need to feel this energy. And I'm also an alpha woman, so I need a very strong lion to place this energy. And I reached a point when I enter a room with like a lot of people, I can feel if there's an alpha man or not. And this is like
Yes.
something that's what I'm looking for. And it's not like there are not so many lines out there, right? So that's also a thing. That's, for me, that's most important, that I can see he has a purpose, a strong vision, because I
Yeah.
want him to lead the family, right? So for me, for example, I rather go on no date, rather than going with someone I'm not convinced that they're on the same page or that they could have like a strong purpose. I'm not wasting my energy. I'm not doing like things people do. And also for me, like casual dating is not an option. For me, it always has to come from a place of, yeah, we're on the same page, right? Because my questions are different. I ask you very deep stuff, because I want to get to know you. And that's what I expect from a man too. And for me,
I think,
it's
like you said, a strong masculine isn't going to see that as being intrusive or deep or, crossing a line. They're going to be very like anchored in their sense of self and receive you. And it's a really good way. And I think that when you say no to what is not aligned over and over and over again, even though sometimes the easier thing is to say yes, but you stay, true to who you are, the universe is paying attention to all of that. And it's like, oh, okay, Christina is serious. She's not going to fall into these little traps. And each time you say no, the universe is prepping the person who is going to be that yes for you. That's beautiful.
That's perfect. Yeah, I agree. And for me, it's like, the masculine man, for example, also doesn't entertain multiple women at the same time.
Agreed.
Because he knows what he wants, right? So why should I want to match his energy. I want a perfect match. So I'm not entertaining multiple women and multiple men at the same time, right? So that's kind of thing. And that's the energy and vibe I'm looking for. And until I find this person, I'm keep going and rather staying by myself or having dinner on my own rather than to entertain something I don't like, right?
And filling up your life with so much more love, like your friendships and I'm sure like your experiences and just appreciating Mother Earth's beauty and, just living your best life, staying on that frequency of I'm good, I love me, I love my life. And that also is what calls in the person who is also on that frequency of I don't need somebody from a place of lack or voids or holes or brokenness. I'm filling up myself and you're filling up yourself. And that's how you become a energetic match to somebody that you're trying to call in.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I also love what you said. I was almost expecting you to say, oh, a masculine man is, somebody who's like 6 foot tall or like, you didn't use any physical attributes, which I loved. You're simply saying a man who has a vision for his future and a purpose for his life. Like that's so pure, so beautiful. And I want all men that are listening, because I do get amazing men listening to my podcast who think that if they're not making as much money as the woman, then they're not in their masculine energy. So can you share from your personal experience what you think about that and if you agree or disagree?
I mean, I have a PhD. And when I was dating back in the days, of course, I would at some point make more money. I also made more money than my ex-boyfriend. He was a few years younger than me. So like the career differences are different, but for me, at that point, it was not an issue. However, I feel like it's not only about the finances, it's about how the man is treating you, because the man has so much more power than in just finances. Let's say this strong purpose, or he has like a very, like he's socially engaged. He has like whatever, an organization that he runs, or he has like a whatever soccer club or something where he's like so passionate about that I feel like, oh my god, it's that's a man. I can look, that's to say like the lion, right, sitting there on top of the mountain and looking down on his herd, like that's and finances is like one part of it. Of course, if there's a very huge difference, it's like not that I would want to date someone who's broke. Right? It's just an extreme example. So I think someone who's broke as a man is maybe also not ready to date a woman. Right? But yeah, for me,
I agree 100%. I agree. Yeah, I agree, because in this day and age too, it is actually not as hard to be financially stable to a point of like comfort, right? Like, of course, no one's sitting here trying to say you have to be a millionaire or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there's so much in between of struggling financially, I think is like, it's an energy. I think money is energy. So if you're struggling financially to pay the bills, there is something leaking in your energy that needs to be looked at. But I do think that if you are doing a purpose-driven work, you should also take care of yourself financially. It's like the same thing. If we are being feminine women pouring into our own selves with the nurturing energy and the love energy and the softness, then we expect the man to be pouring into their own self too, and making sure that they are financially stable to the point where they can pay for a date. They can make you feel energetically that they are not in scarcity or victim consciousness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
that's
And for me,
beautiful.
it's like a man, you know, when he's a provider, right? So he has to have his financials under control so that he doesn't even care if he pays a coffee for a stranger. You know what I mean? It's not,
Ah, wow.
wow,
So
like
true.
I'm on a date with him and, you know, maybe he doesn't like me because now he wants to do 50-50 or whatever. Like a man that's so grounded and a provider and a server, he does not care, right? He pays the bill even for a girl he doesn't feel that this is a perfect match because he doesn't care. He just provides.
Yeah, because it's not about the connection and the woman. It's not about the other person. It's about him and his relationship with his own integrity and his own character and who he believes himself to be. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. So, speaking about, relationships when it comes to balancing these energies, what are some other things that couples can just do, whether it's in the bedroom if they want to spark, things up, or like what are some tangibles that you recommend for couples that feel like they're hitting a wall, they're in a rut, and how can they spice things back up?
I mean, coming back to what I said earlier, you have to know what you want. So I know a lot of women, they don't actually know what brings them pleasure. And I'm not talking about the polarity thing here. I'm talking about everything. Like pleasure is everything. It's like, of course, sexual, kinks, whatever, but it's also food, right? What kind of things do you like to look at? What kind of things do you like to touch? What fabrics, right? Hot and cold, and all those things that stimulate your senses. And when you become this sensual being, and I can guarantee you, then your sex life will also be much better. So that's the first thing, right?
Agree. Yeah.
And speaking about those things with your partner, again, communication, and figuring out, let's say you want to try something new, talk about it. And I know that men, they're so happy if you let them know what you want. Of course, they want to try it because they don't want you to go somewhere else to try it. You know what I mean?
So
they want to
true.
make you happy. So let's face that and just voice it, right? And also for women, for me, it's like being more the sensual thing, but also being more in tune with your body. For me, it's like moaning is a very good way to connect your throat with your womb space, right? Because there's this connection you probably know about. So the moment you moan or sigh or hum or make a noise, you definitely feel more in your womb space. And your partner will feel that too. That's, how it goes. So I think like doing something on your own and also with the partner, I think that's how it spices it up. And if you get this polarity going, right? The hot polarity happens even before you enter the bedroom. It's like the daily situations when you come home and give him sometimes a little kiss. Sometimes it's 2 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds, or you appreciate him for doing something in the household, whatever. And he feels like good, and his energy raises and like, spice that up and then you're going to be good, I think.
Yeah, I love that. What are some other connections that you have? I actually never really heard about like that throat and womb connection. So that's really interesting and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's like, because it's connected via the vagus nerve. So you can feel it. It's actually an exercise you can do later on if you want to. So the moment you moan, right, and create a vibration, you can feel it. You can put one hand here and one on your womb space. And when you make a sound like, you can feel it.
Yeah.
But, right? And so that's a perfect connection.
Wow.
And that's why it's so important, right? So women are not staying quiet. Should not stay quiet. I don't mean that you just scream in the bedroom. You just have, find your own way of expressing yourself. And so exercises that I'm doing is like yoni breathing, where you just activate your womb space through a specific technique of breathing. And also screaming is one important part that I'm doing with my clients. They need to let go of the good girl, who got stuck in the body.
I talk about it like sacred rage is so powerful.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
What are some other things that you do? Because that's I haven't heard of anybody like actually talking about like the practices from the somatic angle of like what does that look like? We talk a lot about what it means to be a feminine and like what it looks like but I love to dive into the actual work that you do with your clients. And what does that
Yeah,
look
that's
like? What are the
perfect.
practices?
So for me, everything that I'm doing is, of course, very feminine, and the goal is to activate your femininity. So we're not just, of course, we need to talk, we need to find out like what beliefs you have or what patterns keep you stuck, but it's also about experiencing your body and like picture like a woman who's worked for so many years on her career and just stop being a sensual sexual human being and being feminine. She needs to reconnect. And let's say like the moaning or the womb space, like a breathing technique, is activating all of this energy. I mean, when it comes down, we are like human beings, and like the sexual energy is the most powerful energy we have, right? That's how we got created,
Agreed.
simple as that.
Yes.
And to being turned on by your life or your work, or your partner, that's the juiciest thing you can ever have. So everything in your body, and it will turn you on, like the moaning thing, the breathing, and also I do blindfolding exercises to cut off some senses that you feel more, but also the screaming and watching yourself. Like, let's say you hop in front of the mirror and have a conversation. You can be naked. You can do some pussy gazing if you want to, like really feeling this is me, right? And touch and all those good things that come with it. So it's really very sensual. I also do sensual eating that you can do all the time. So I'm doing that when I'm taking myself out to whatever sushi place. Of course, I'm licking on that sushi. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying my time. And, I just do it because I feel it's more for me and gives me back this pleasure.
Wow, that's amazing. I actually don't do any of that. The way I connect with like my body is more just so like dancing and things like that. But I am going to definitely bring in those things. And I know like for me and like when I'm alone and I'm doing my self-pleasure, it's not always about right? It's not always just about reaching an orgasm. Sometimes it really is just about like feeling my body, using some like feathers or something, and just like getting in touch with like where are my erotic zones, like where do I enjoy being touched, and like you said, knowing what you want and what you like first, and then that's how you improve your sex life in the bedroom with a partner. And sharing what you want in the bedroom is only going to empower you also out in the world, in the boardroom. So like when you are managing or you are in an executive meeting or with investors or something like that, then like the more you practice using your voice in the bedroom, it's going to impact you using your voice in a room full of men who think they know everything and this and that. It's like, well, actually.
No. And I think like the pleasure thing, as I said, it happens in your daily life, or like even the female embodiment that's 24/7. You are a woman, right? So whenever you have a shower in the morning, just do it more slowly, right? Touch yourself, have a beautiful scented shower foam, right? Put your makeup on and look into your beautiful eyes, and while you put on blush, like you feel it, it's like the moments you can really embrace, and they happen every single day. And I think that's how you can do it.
And I think it's the greatest rebellious act is slowing down and like being like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna rush. Yes.
True.
Amazing. I am going to practice that for sure. And I'll keep you posted on how it goes.
I want to know, of course.
Well, thank you, Christina, so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with my audience before we start to share how they can contact you and work with you?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I want them to be proud of themselves, right? They're always so gorgeous. And they should not forget that they're women, that's what I want them to be. And like, of course, it's sometimes work and sometimes life is not easy, but you make it beautiful as much as you can. And if you can improve it sometimes, of course you do it so that you have a beautiful life. And that's, feel empowered and inspired. I think that's a good thing.
I love that. Yes, definitely. I mean, women are beautiful creatures. That's why God created us too.
It's so pretty. Oh my God, I'm so in love, with all the women on the planet.
Me too. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. How can my audience find you and how can they work with you if they're interested?
So first of all, they can reach me on my Instagram. I think this is pretty easy. It's, you will share the links, right? So it's, I am Dr. Christina. You can reach out to me. You can see what I'm doing. So what I recently did, because I wanted to show more what I'm doing and how it feels like. So I recorded a YouTube show. It's called The Women. Right?
Amazing.
And I invited like female entrepreneurs. We did that in LA. We drove in a car. So it's a carpool coaching show. I drove with
Oh,
them
that's
through Beverly
amazing.
Hills. And I drop you the links too. And, you know, we talked about everything. We talked sometimes about businesses, how they struggle. They also cannot relax, right? That was a big topic too. We talked about dating and relationships with an alpha man, for example. They shared everything from how much time, you know, how often they have sex in the week until that they didn't even enjoy their vacations anymore because they're so burned out. And then we did the exercises I just mentioned. So we did sensual eating, we did pillow boxing. Yeah, we
That's
screamed, you know,
amazing.
and scared everyone around us. But like, that was fun. Yeah.
LA needs that. LA is starting to feel a little like, where is the wild feminine? We need to bring the
Yeah.
wild feminine to LA for sure.
Yeah, that's
So I
true.
love that you did that. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to go binge watch it and check it out. And I hope everybody else does too. Again, thank you for your brilliance and your magic today.
Of
And I
course.
hope
Thank you
we'll
so
talk soon.
much. Thank you so much.